Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each episode, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and just gets real. Today, I'd like have with me Ike Aku. Why don't I should always ask people how to pronounce their last name, but I always
Ikokwu.
forget it.
Ike Ikokwu.
Ikokwu. Okay, so I wasn't that far off. Okay. I had John Thor Sigurlifson on my show a while back, and I stumbled over that one, and he was quite proud to let me do it too. He was like, "Go ahead,
that one sounds like a bit. I thought mine was a bit of a tongue twister, but that one certainly has its set of challenges too.
Well, Ike, welcome to the show. Welcome to Lee After Dark. And the rules are simple. For the next 20 minutes or so, we can talk about anything you want but your current business. If successful, you'll have 5 minutes at the end to pitch up a storm if you want. But technically, every time you mention your business, there's a 1 minute infraction. So, we take that off at the end. It doesn't happen very often unless somebody just really gets on my nerves. But it's just there for show. So, you ready to play?
Ready to play, man. Love the intro, man. It's just sounds awesome. Like a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and start the timer then. And all right, what do we want to get into with the next 20 minutes? You mentioned praxis, and so if that's where you want to start, specifically, you said living in a state of praxis where there's congruence between what we believe in our practical daily lives. So this is already going to be big stuff here, because this is huge for anybody who's really trying to get more out of life and discovering during this all of this quarantine and hibernation and self-reflection that we need to grow, that we need to be better people, that we need to become something more than we're currently settling for.
That's so true, Lee. And, we could go one of probably a dozen different places with that whole idea of living in praxis, right? Being true to your authentic self. I don't know, it might have been a month or two or so ago, somebody had pointed out that, and from a technology standpoint, man, that's like over my pay grade. So I'm not like the hippest guy in technology. I manage my own as it relates to what I need to do in business and in life. But apparently, there are softwares, tools, whatever it is you want to call it, that can give off the appearance that you just took a picture in the beach in Hawaii and some Cayman Islands. Think of whatever exotic location of your choice. And you can snap and put that on Instagram, and it looks like you are there right then. And again, the question is, are we being true and honest with what we say that we're doing versus what's actually occurring in our lives?
Exactly.
It could be very troubling because, in the world in which we live in, I grew up in an era where, for the most part, it was like go to school, get a higher education. Like all of my siblings, have like, very, very advanced degrees. I've got a lot of doctors, lawyers, really, really high intellect people within my family. So that was always like the proven path to success. Step into the 21st century, and we've learned about internet millionaires. We've learned about high school kids who drop out and are selling stuff on Amazon, and just the world is their oyster. And when you follow a lot of these overnight successes, it appears that they're an overnight success, but oftentimes they're not telling us the real story, right? So that's another area where we can unintentionally create this false sense of just how simple and easy business is. A good friend of mine, Ronell Richards, refers to it as business porn. And he's on a mission to completely eradicate that. So that's another example of like, how true are we to living our lives in praxis, right? I mean, are you sharing the guts, the glory, the pain, the agony, all the trials, the tribulations, the difficulties that it may have taken you to get to that point,
right,
where you're now running a successful business, or you're just creating a facade of what it looks like to get there? talk about a little bit of how this showed up in my life recently. So for about the past decade, I've been very proud of the fact that I have a separate office that I would go to for work. Been that way for over a decade. And the way my business has evolved over time is for periods of that decade, I've had like an office manager. I have people remotely who help and support me. And so I've been in like a 1,200 square foot office for about a decade without really needing that much space. But as you and I probably know, there is wisdom in having very dedicated office space where you work, right? So those who work from home in the midst of this COVID have had to transition and figure out how to be productive and effective. So nothing against that argument. But one of the things I found to be interesting is for any members of the audience who follow my story, I'm very, very open with my past and where I've been and some of the challenges that I have experienced. Twice in my life, I've made multiple seven figures and lost multiple seven figures.
Oh, wow.
And learned a lot through those lessons. But in my last adventure with that, at the conclusion of a lot of the events that led to that, one of the silver linings out of the season of adversity that I went through was coming to a place where I recognized what it meant to be present in my marriage, to be present in the lives of my kids. And as I looked through some of the rich lessons that came out of that season, that was always something that I would communicate to people, like, man, yeah, this past 6 or 7 years have been difficult, but the fruit on the other side of that is I'm present in my marriage, loving my wife the way she yearns to be loved. My kids get to experience me more. But then I started to take inventory of what my life was really like. And here's how it started to show up. A friend of mine asked a question one time about, well, so tell me, what are dinners at your house like? And I was like, oh man, we don't, as a family, we don't do that until the weekends. That's not a daily occurrence Monday through Friday. And dude, have you ever said something, and when you say it, it's like the words just kind of show up in a panoramic view in front of you, pay attention to what you just said, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And when I said it, man, it dawned on me how much I had accepted that to be the way that life is in our household, but how just so different and unique and foreign it is to the way most people's households are. I mean, most people have a 2-income household, and while parents work extremely hard, at some point they're home Monday through Friday, usually having dinner with their kids. Due to the nature of just the way things were in our household, I've got 3 kids. My oldest, Ella, is 13, and she loves ballet. She's been doing it for 8 years, and so 3 nights out of the week now, she gets to go in the evening for her ballet lessons. And so she's usually done by about 9. And so it's just made sense over the years for me to be the one to pick her up when she's done. So I go from work and I go pick her up. So 3 nights out of the week, I'm not home until 9, and I'm an early bird. So up early, go through my routine, hit the house. So I'm gone when it's dark. Nobody even knows that daddy's up. So 3 nights out of the week, I'm not there. One night on Friday, I'm usually working at a local ministry or doing stuff. So essentially Monday through Friday, daddy's gone at 7 in the morning. He's not back till 9 p.m. plus at night. And it got to a point where my youngest, Joelle, who's 5 years old, she wouldn't see me until Saturday. Routinely Monday through Friday, it was I wasn't even here, even though I was local in the city in which we live in, right?
Sure.
So that stood out as a sore thumb. And in the midst of COVID and everything that was going on, it just was I was looking at all the facts of my life and going, I keep sharing with people about just the richness from all this adversity that I've been through. One of those being me being present. But I'm as I take inventory of my life, am I really being present? If I'm not here, for 12 plus hours a day, Monday through Friday, and my children are getting to see me on the weekend, that's 2 days out of 7, brother. That's not being very present, right?
No.
So as that reality dawned on me, it just, I just started thinking about life in general and how many times do we like give what I would call mental assent to an idea that sounds really, really cool, sounds ingenious, sounds like something we'd love to share with the world and go like, yeah, this is what I do. But then if we were to audit the details of your life, we find that you do the exact opposite of what it is that you profess that you do and what it is that you believe to be the right thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
this concept of mental assent is intriguing. So tell me about that.
yeah, mental assent is just, it's the idea that we hear things and we go, yeah, I agree with that. I believe
Okay.
that. But then we add a but to the end, right? So you could say, do you believe all things are possible? And you go, yeah, of course I believe all things are possible, right? And I go, well, do you believe that you could, for example, you believe that you could turn your annual income into a monthly income? Oh, yeah, I guess that's possible, but just not for me, right? So in conversation, you know, maybe you've hung around really, you know, really, really smart personal development experts. You've heard the gurus talk about this and you've bought into the idea. It's like conceptually you go, yeah, that's possible. But then as you start taking inventory of your life, you come up with a million reasons why Ike can't do that.
Mm.
Lee can do that. Lee's well positioned. He grew up on the right side of the tracks. He's got parents who go to the golf club and they know people, you know, that could put him in places of position and power to get him access to opportunities to be able to turn his, you know, $16,000 annual income, you know, to a monthly income, right? So that's the whole idea where, you know, if we took inventory of various facets of our life, we would probably find that there's a long laundry list of things that we've given mental assent to. But in practice, we are given 100% dissent to the idea of being real in our lives.
Gotcha. Okay, so then that creates a dissonance in which we cannot operate successfully.
Exactly. And we sit on the wrong side of dissonance in that equation, right? Dissonance actually has, cognitive dissonance has some incredibly positive attributes, right?
Okay.
Because if we create a mental image and a picture of where it is that we're trying to go, that is 100% different than where we are right now. And we become enamored by that. It becomes a strong desire. Like we go to bed thinking about it. We wake up in the morning thinking about it. It starts to shift the biological and chemical makeup. And within our internal organisms, it's like our brain keeps telling us, you keep creating and putting before me this image of what life is going to look like. But it's completely different than what life is. I don't like this distinction. And so understanding how our minds are wired, it loves to solve that problem. The way it solves that is it starts moving you towards this picture and this image that you're holding fast. The problem of what we're talking about is where we're not actually holding that image. We just, in passing, say, yeah, I agree with that. Now let me get back to my boring life. That is nothing like what I just said I agree with. So we have dissonance, but it's working against us in that example.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Having that mental picture is so important, you know, and yet I tend to approach things, you know, from kind of a Taoist approach that, you know, sometimes things happen the way they happen because you were supposed to learn something else. You know, the water principle of not resisting when you want something to happen. This is my goal and I want this so badly to happen.
Sure.
And so, you know, I've always seen a little bit of a dissonance between that too, because I mean, obviously in the West, we have that drive that, you know, set your goals and work toward it and pound toward it. And yet, you know, matching that up and making that compatible with an Eastern thought process of water and, you know, the more, you know, the Tao is what it is and we don't know what it is yet. It's been an interesting challenge for me. I don't know if that's something that you know thought about or explored at all.
You know, the way that showed up in my life is what I refer to as transitioning from a life of independence to a life of interdependence. And so being an A+ personality type individual, you know, an accounting background, a financial background, I've spent much of my life trying to be in control, whether it's planning the financial future of clients, planning my financial future. I've always had a lot of solace and peace with the fact that 1 + 1 = 2, and don't tell me 1 + 1 = 3, right? You know,
That's
there's
right.
a specific path or, you know, pathway we can take to get from point A to point B. And as long as you have the coordinates, you should get there, right? Life should always be a straight line, not a zigzag, right? I plotted this out. This is where I'm supposed to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And as you grow and as you mature, you realize that there are forces that are beyond comprehension that impact that pathway that you use from getting from point A to point B. And it's not so much the idea that you're not going to get there, but perhaps the way, the direction, the turning points, the cities, you know, maybe you're going to take the scenic route.
Absolutely.
As opposed to the highway, right? And just a willingness to be completely sold on the destination, which is where you're going, but not sold on you being in control of the path to get there, is like a huge, huge lesson in my life, right?
Ooh, I think that, yeah. I like how you put that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we got a few minutes left here in this segment of the show. So do you have any final thoughts or specific insights that you'd like to share with the audience on helping them work and live more in alignment with themselves and live in praxis?
Yeah, so, you know, one of the taglines I share with clients goes something along the lines of, listen, you've got to go back to the way you were like a child. You have to start dreaming again. And once you crystallize what that dream is of what life could be, then you've got really 3 things to do. One is you should believe radically in the dream that you have about what your life could and will look like. 2, you should pursue relentlessly that specific dream against all odds, regardless of what the naysayers may say. It's your dream, and it was given to you and not Ike and not Lee for a reason. You bear the responsibility of bringing that dream to pass. And so if you believe remarkably, if you believe radically and you pursue relentlessly, it's my belief that you will achieve remarkably. So that's what I'd share in passing.
It's absolutely fantastic. And go back and listen to that again, because seriously, it's that important. So many of us are held back by our self-limitations, and we don't even really know where we pick them up from. It's I think that's been an unintended consequence of shelter in place for a lot of us, is that the time for reflection has showed us those things that we didn't even know were there, and the veneer begins to crack. It's not a bad thing as long as you're willing to go through the discomfort. Gary Monty, my guest on Motai Up Live yesterday, and I were talking about how people are so afraid of discomfort, but yet it's an absolute requirement for change, because nothing good and different happens inside your comfort zone, and it's a comfort zone for a reason. It's been so interesting just talking to all the people who let that process happen and begun to see the results of just letting go of those old beliefs, those old thought processes, those things they're finding that are just, they didn't know that were there, and they're finding potential within themselves that they didn't even know was possible. So it's a really neat process, and I love what you're talking about, and that you're a part of that.
Yeah. Absolutely critical for life, my man.
It really is. So, and with that, we have completed the Lee After Dark 20-minute Not Talking About Your Business Challenge. Yay! So, Invisible rains down and all the good stuff. So, as I promised, I'm a man of my word. So, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to talk about your business, any offers you got going on, how people can get in touch with you. The floor is yours, my friend.
Sure. Well, I appreciate it. Oftentimes people ask what I do, and recognizing the impact of branding and all the gurus out there who go kind of stick in one lane and be a master of this one domain. That unfortunately is just not my story. I tend to kind of swim in a few different lanes, and I love all the lanes that I swim in because they fulfill an aspect of how I've been uniquely shaped and created, and it dovetails very nicely with my life experiences. So when people ask what I do, I simply say, listen, I'm a business growth strategist, I'm a mindset coach, and I'm a personal finance expert. And what I do is I help purpose-driven six-figure entrepreneurs triple their leads, double their sales, and add 100,000 in revenue and profits to their business in 12 months or less. How do I do that? Pretty simple. I work on helping them master what I call the inner and outer game of success. And what we get down to is teaching clients my subconscious inception marketing system so that they can subconsciously incept the minds of their prospective clients to attract leads to them like bees to honey, convert them to paying clients, and to get them to buy more. If you'd like to learn more, you can certainly visit me at my website. It's morebizgrowth-nofee.com. That's www.morebizgrowth-nofee.com. Presently, I am one of 24 featured experts in an upcoming Money Mastery virtual summit that's taking place this weekend, Friday, May the 22nd through Sunday, May the 24th. There are literally 8 experts per day that will be dropping incredible knowledge for anyone who is remotely interested in learning how to make more money, save more money, and literally invest like a boss. So I have the link that I've dropped in the comments here, and I'm sure Lee will find a way to include that with the replay or the recording of the summit. But would certainly welcome you guys to grab your tickets. They are free, and as they would say, get you some.
There you go. All right. Well, Ike, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and chatting with you today. Any final words before we wrap this up?
Dude, you got to do more of these, man. I love the challenge, and in a world where it's self promotion all the time, to be intentional about saying we're going to kick that to the curb and see if you can talk about things that matter.
That's what we're trying to do here. So I really appreciate that. And again, thank you. And as always, if you know anyone who would enjoy this experience as much as you have, please let us know, because we'd love to have them on the show. Okay?
Definitely. I'll pass on the good word, brother. Appreciate what you're doing.
Very cool. All right. Well, we are out of time, but if you found Lee After Dark more entertaining and relevant than most of the dreck out there, then subscribe to our YouTube channel at leeafterdark.com. And now, get Lee After Dark in your pants. We're on Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Stitcher Breaker, Pocket Cast, Pocket Rocket. Who the heck knows where else, so you can enjoy us wherever you put your phone. Until next time, this is Lee Rowley with my new friend Ike. Be present and be well.